What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a nice, juicy, salty, delicious bag of recruiting chips brought to you by the Barn Baseball and Softball Academy. As always, I am Jeremy the Couch Potato. Opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate, and it's official visit season. So there is a ton of things to get into. We want to hit on just some kind of news items on the 26 class, and then we'll dive deeper into the guys that are going to be on campus this week. It's been an eventful week or so.
Yes, it has.
We will start, right off the bat. Massive commitment date announced this week. A guy we've talked about a ton. A guy we both want in this class. Sincere Johnson, number 2 player in the state of Ohio. Number 8, Edge. Which is kind of a development, I guess you would say, because all along we've heard he's a linebacker, 6'3", 225, and that is a 6'3", 225 of grown man. You see Sincere Johnson walking down the street, and you're like, this kid's 30. I mean, he's jacked. Announcing his commitment on the 19th of June.
Yeah,
and ironically enough, he'll be at Ohio State right before that. OSU, Bama, Penn State are the 3 finalists. Big get, big need.
Absolutely, man. I think Sincere Johnson is obviously a must get. Coming out of Glenville, this kid he's got that Arvell Reese makeup, and I know that's a very lazy comparison just because Arvell went to Glenville, but you talk about a guy who has versatility to play in the box as a linebacker and as a defensive end, as an edge. I think he's just that type of athlete. And to think about coupling him with CJ Santa from Olentangy High School, I just think you're getting not just 2 of the best guys in the state of Ohio, but 2 of the most, athletic guys in the country who can just provide so much for you from a blitzing standpoint as linebackers, from an edge standpoint. They can just do so much. And so I think Sincere coming out of Glenville High School is somebody that is 110% a must get in the 2026 class.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll dive deeper into him on his visit week. CJ Santa, we've talked about CJ, when he committed and before that. We talked about how he's a world-class thrower.
Yeah.
And my man's out here breaking records yesterday.
Yeah. 43-year-old regional record in the discus he broke yesterday. I was texting with him today. He was pretty pumped up. So I'm going to try to get down and watch him next Saturday at the Jesse. Hopefully he can bring home a state championship, man. So shout out to CJ, man. Good luck.
Heck yeah. And then the next news nugget, I guess you would say, Richard Wesley, the defensive end who committed to Oregon, who I made a lot of Dan Lanning jokes about for jumping in the pool, has decommitted from Oregon.
Wow.
We saw it coming. We talked about it in the episode where he committed. We'll be taking an official to the Buckeyes for the Texas game. They're going to have some work to do, to give this a shot. But it's really funny. Somebody in one of the message boards brought it up. It's very telling. And we saw it with Quinn Ewers. We lived it. So many of these kids who declassify turn into NIL recruitments.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, it's so tough. And again, we've said it multiple times on here, never going to fault a kid or a family who wants to go chase a bag. And I'm not accusing this family of wanting to do that. This family seems like a very stand-up family in regards of not being happy with him and his commitment to Oregon and the way that they handled it, or the way that he handled it. But yeah, I mean, you have an opportunity to make money that you're not guaranteed to ever make again. And so if you can reclassify and go get that money earlier, you're talking about changing your family's life for, the next 10 plus years. And so if you can do that and take some weight off your parents' shoulders, hey, go do it. You know what I mean? But
absolutely.
at the same time, if that is the sole focus, you have to question some of the things if you're recruiting these guys. And so although Ohio State is now back in the mix, he's going to be visiting. To me, if I'm recruiting him, I'm not saying he's not a great kid. I'm sure he is a great kid. I would question some of his intention if he was, he got that attention from Dan Lanning that made him want to commit. Then what is he motivated by? I think those would be the questions. So it would have to be a thorough vetting process when we get him on campus. I mean, we would be grilling him about that. I understand he's a kid. He's very impressionable. Those things happen, right? But I would need to know, like, if you come here, are you going to be here for the right reasons? And so that is something that he's going to have to answer now when he goes and visits these other schools. But I hope he lands where, he feels like he can stay there and he's able to collect the bag as well. And so, I hope this is a lesson that he's learned. And I hope Coach Lanning learned a lesson too. Don't jump in pools and celebrate like that, man. Just, play in the background.
Stay dry. Stay dry.
Stay in the background, coach. You're good enough. You're a dog as a coach, man. Just play in the background, man.
Yeah,
let
really
Phil
crazy.
Knight keep cutting the checks.
I know you're a huge Dan Lanning guy, and Dan Lanning took the Rose Bowl, in stride. He admitted, that they got whooped up on, but like you said, you don't have to go to that level.
No.
Let Brian Kelly continue to be the fake guy in college football. Another thing we didn't really jump on when we recorded last, Jameer Perez, Glenville D tackle, committed to Florida. It struck us both as odd, I think, because Glenville kids don't normally pop that early. But then Sincere's going to commit. But, the Sincere thing, I almost think it's a matter of, yes, you're always going to hold a spot for him. But, the Buckeyes are big game hunting at linebacker still with Tyler Atkinson.
Absolutely.
And Xavier Griffin.
Yeah.
So you've got some guys out there that could potentially take your spot. But Perez, again, I don't know if the family was there. I think this caught everybody off guard, including the Florida people. I don't think this commitment sticks because, 2 days afterwards, he already came out and said he's taking visits other places.
Yeah, I was really shocked by this one, man, because I thought Ohio State was trending in the right direction. It's not often you get a guy like this in the state of Ohio. This big, monstrous, one technique, nose tackle. I mean, he is a huge 330-pound monster. And those are the type of guys that we need and we're lacking. And we have one in our own backyard. And so for him to pull the trigger so fast, that was a real shocker for me. Not just for me, for everybody across the state of Ohio in recruiting circles. And like you said, even down in Florida, they were shocked he pulled the trigger. And so, hopefully, it doesn't stick, because I think this is a guy, when you have these guys that are homegrown, you got to keep them. When they have guys when you have guys like this that are Ohio State caliber guys, that are SEC level guys who can play that true one technique nose, you got to keep them in town. You got to keep them in the state of Ohio. And so if I'm Ohio State, I'm doing whatever it takes. I know he's not this big high level recruit, but man, the film doesn't lie. He can play. And so if I'm Ohio State, I'm doing whatever I can to flip this recruitment. I know there are some other names, and we'll talk about the visitor lists out there that some bigger 300-pound guys, that are, I believe, from the state of Florida. But this is a guy that I think in Perez that we have to get. Again, somebody from Glenville. This is you can't let him go. You cannot let him go. And so whatever we got to do, man, we got to get this guy flipped and back into the fold. You can't let a Glenville guy slip out of the state of Ohio, especially to a place like Florida. It can't happen.
Yeah, especially a dude that like you said, he fills a position of need, but also that position of want. Ohio State fans have been clamoring, and I am in no way, shape, or form comparing this guy to Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
But that's the type of kid that this could be. Is that big, just block eater, run stopper, freeing up your linebackers to do their thing. This is a massive need. And I don't think we can understate that either. So we'll see what happens. I think there's a long way to go on that one. Obviously, I think if Sincere commits to the Buckeyes, that can't hurt.
Yep.
And then it is Thursday night when we're recording this. So just tonight, one of what everybody thought was like the top 3 or 4 running back targets on the list, Carson Baker, is no longer visiting OSU this month, nor will he be considering OSU. We're not insiders, so I can't tell you why. But obviously, I've said for a month and a half that I can pretty much tell you that I think Favor Aki will be a Buckeye. And then does that mean, things are trending somewhere with another back? Maybe. I'm sure more will come out though. I think Berm and Ellis are finally able to start making content again, other than just doing their other stuff. So I'm sure we'll get some stuff from Berm. So that's kind of the nuggets before we get to the chips, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
So first official visits of the summer. Buckeyes class currently sits at 13 commits. We've got 11 recruits coming this weekend, including one of which is already a commit, and that's Corbin Fordham.
Yep.
We've talked about him when he committed. But he's got a purpose to be here, and we'll get there in a second. The obvious question with the 26 class is the quarterback position.
Mm-hmm.
There is still no clear-cut name out there, but I think we're about to get one.
Okay.
Reading the tea leaves from everybody, looks like Luke Fahey, 4-star kid from Mission Viejo, California, is going to be the target, but we'll see.
Okay. All right. I have to do some research on him. I've seen his name. I haven't dove into the film.
Yeah. Yeah, there's another kid. I think he's a Sparty commit that his name's being tossed around too. It's going to be hard to get a 26 quarterback. I mean, that's
definitely going to be tough.
I mean, you've got Tavian and then you've got the 27 kid, Brady Edmonds.
Yeah.
So we're looking good.
Yeah.
So with this list of guys who are on campus, obviously there are 3, actually I'm going to call it 4 big fish.
Okay.
The most must get is going to be the hardest to get. And that's Felix Ojo, the number 2 tackle in the country. Excuse me. It's an OSU Texas battle. But I don't think the kid comes to Ohio State. I think he's going to Texas. This kid is a monster, man. I don't have his measurables in front of me. I know you've watched a little bit of him so I'll let you kind of do your thing while I look this up.
Yeah, he's 6'6", 275. Your athletic freak of nature, prototype offensive tackle. I mean, this is the type of guy that you want. If you could couple him with Sam Greer, you have your bookend tackles for the next 4 years. I mean, this is somebody that you take no matter who you have in the class. I think this is a guy, it would be hard to get him out of the state of Texas, obviously, but I think this is a player who has potential to play as a freshman. Have to get a little bigger. I think 275 is, it might be a little generous, but I think he has all the traits in the world. You get him enrolled early, you get him in there with Coach Mick. This guy has all the intangibles. And so, I mean, he's special. There's really not a lot you can say about him. He is absolutely 100% deserving of the 5-star rating. So if you could get him and you could couple him with Sam Greer, buddy, that would be fantastic. But like you said, it's going to be tough to pull him out of the state of Texas.
The next big fish is a guy we've talked about a little bit. We just talked about his position, and that is the number 1 running back in the country, number 1 player in the 247 Sports Composite, Savion Hitter. This one's going to be interesting. For a long time, Ohio State was kind of presumed to be the destination. Then the team up north got involved, and now Tennessee's involved. Coach Locke's going to have to do the damn thing, but I definitely think there's a chance of getting him.
Man, listen, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this is my favorite recruit in the last like 5 years. This dude is an absolute baller. You turn on the film and you just see this explosive athlete. I mean, he's running through people. And if you watch the film, you think he's 6'2", 230 pounds. But then you go to 24/7 Sports and you look at his measurables and he's 5'11", 200 pounds.
Yep.
Right. He just plays with this violent, physical, mean streak. Like he just wants to run through your face. I mean, that is just what he wants to do. And what makes it even better is that he turns around and then goes on defense and plays defensive end. Like, you can't coach those type of kids. Like those kids are 1 in 1,000 when it comes to being this top rated 4-5-star type of guy. And then you're turning around and being a undersized defensive end for your high school team. Like, those are the type of guys that I want in my program. Those are junkyard dogs, as our guy Jay Book would say. And this dude is a junkyard dog. I mean, he finishes runs. He's a multi-sport athlete. I think he's right around an 11 flat, 10-9, 100 guy. I mean, he can do it all, can catch the ball out of the backfield. But what sold me on it, man, was seeing him turn around and in his highlight film showing defensive clips, like he's getting recruited to play defensive end in college, man. Like, when I saw that, I was like, okay, this guy is an absolute must get. Now, like you said, it's going to be tough with some of the other schools that are now involved, but man, this kid is the total package. It's hard to compare him to anybody. For football buffs, 24/7 compares him to Amarion Hampton, who was a running back at North Carolina, who just got drafted this year. If he turns out like that, that is great. I believe Amarion Hampton was a second-round draft pick.
First round.
Yeah, there we go. This guy is a violent runner, comparable to Quinshawn, right? If you watch his top end, the way he runs is very comparable to Quinshawn. I mean, he runs with that violent streak. And so, man, I just get pumped up watching this guy's film. And so if we can get him in the fold and, if we're able to snag, Favor as well, you're talking about 2 guys that are going to compete for playing time and on an already loaded backfield. And so this dude is him. He is that guy. And so if I'm recruiting him, I'm doing whatever it takes. We are going, I'm going to Cardell, going to the foundation. What do we got to do to get this guy, man? Because he's a dude. So big fan of this guy, man. He's a true throwback type player, man, that I would want in my program.
Yeah, that's a great comparison, honestly. Both of those. And I think you're going to see Quinshawn and what he does for the Browns. I think you're going to see that also help the Buckeyes. Not that they ever really needed help on the running back recruiting front, but yeah. The next guy, this is an interesting one. Xavier Griffin, number 2, number 3 linebacker in the country, depending on where you look. Gainesville, Georgia. Was recently committed to USC, decommitted from USC, and then scheduled visits. I think he ends up at Bama, but the fact that he is taking an official tells you he's at least intrigued. But I think he's got family in Bama too. Kid's good. Kid is really, really good. But like we talked about with linebacker recruiting, you've got CJ. Let's assume we get Sincere. You're still hunting Tyler Atkinson. Who's to say how Ohio State has pursued this kid?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this is, one of the top rated linebackers in the country. If he wants to come visit, you're not going to turn him away. You know what I mean?
No,
Like, you're not going to turn this guy away. He's a little undersized, but this is a guy, if you can get him in the weight room, get him a little bigger, he has got that type of potential to come in and do a lot of good things for you. I don't want to compare him to like Riley Pettijohn or anything like that, but he's a lightning bolt, man. He can just play fast, play at a high level.
yeah,
Going to be hard to get him out of the South, though. I mean, that's just a realization. But anytime you can get any of these kids to Columbus, you got a fighting chance. And so this is a
exactly.
guy, if you can get him, we're going big fish hunting with Tyler Atkinson and obviously with Sincere, trying to couple him with CJ and all these different things. But this is a guy like, get him on campus. You never know. You never know what's going to
Exactly.
happen. So we'll see how this works out, but I do think it will be hard to get him out of the South.
And then the next two guys that I would consider big fish in the big picture. You've got the number 4 and number 6 defensive ends. Um, you've got Jake Cruel from IMG,
Mm-hmm.
um, who seems like OSU's kind of lost some momentum there. And then you've got Luke Waffle, who I think has a better chance of ending up in the class. It's an OSU Penn State battle, and I watched a lot of both of these guys tonight. And to me, the thing that jumps out to me is Jake Cruel is small for a D end. Um,
Yes.
he's weighs 230, whereas and Luke Waffle's only 245. But
Yeah.
when you compare the skill sets, and this is by no means my strong suit at all. Waffle's brother plays at Penn State too, by the way, so that's an interesting challenge
Well,
in the
there you go.
recruitment.
Yeah.
Jake Cruel has more moves when you watch the
Yeah.
film. Luke Waffle to me is almost like an early Sam Hubbard type, like straight bull rush guy.
Yep.
There wasn't a single move on his highlight film. There
Yeah.
wasn't a dip. There wasn't a spin. Nothing. Whereas Cruel is like showing you the full arsenal. He's got. It's like 2 minutes into his highlight film, and there's a nasty dip move.
Yeah. Yeah, Jake Cruel's got a lot more when it comes to pass rush acumen. Like you said, he's got more bendability. He's got a really good dip. He's got more ankle flexibility. Those type of things that you're really looking for in a pass rusher. So that's what you're really getting in him. I think obviously when the Buckeyes are recruiting him, that's what they're thinking. They're thinking of somebody that can get after the passer. With Waffle, you're getting somebody that you can build him up to about 260 plus pounds, and you're getting a strong side 5 tech defensive end that is going to be a stalwart. Like you said, Sam Hubbard is a great comparison. Jack Sawyer is another good comparison. You're getting somebody who is going to bull rush the crap out of you, right? Not a lot of different moves that he can bring you, but the work ethic and the attitude that he's going to play with is going to be relentless. I mean, I would when I was watching Luke Waffle's film, I was sitting there thinking like, who pissed him off? Like, I want to know
Right.
who made him mad before the game. Like, who came in and said something about his family, because that's the way that he plays, right? And with Jake Cruel, it's the same thing. Like, he plays with a mean streak, but his athleticism really pops out to you on
Yes.
the film. And so I think
100%.
Jake Cruel is an elite pass rusher. And that is one of the things that they are. If I am Matt Patricia, I'm thinking of different sub packages that I'm going to have for Jake Cruel. If I am Matt Patricia, I'm thinking of all the different things I can do in the run game and being able to move somebody like Luke Waffle to possibly a 3 technique at times if I need to, a la Sam Hubbard, a la Jack Sawyer, a la the guy we just got from North Carolina. I'm drawing a blank on his name. The guy who just transferred in as a
Yeah.
defensive end. I'm just drawing a
Bo Atkinson.
yeah,
Is
Bo
it? Yeah.
Atkinson. And so those are the guys that I'm thinking about when it comes to him. The Zach Harrisons, those type of just stalwart defensive ends. And so 2 very different players, but I think very, very solid players that they're both takes in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
I think they both fit different needs. And you can never add too many solid defensive ends who have differing skill sets into the front four.
Yeah, so that's going to be real interesting to see how that board shapes up. There are some other names that we'll see over the summer that we'll talk about that, I think have a little bit better chance. I think you have to do whatever you can to get one of these two guys, if not both of them.
Yeah.
And that brings us to an interesting visitor, a position that, you just never know how many you're going to look at. And that's 4-star tight end Max Sutter out of Illinois. He is the number 1 player in the state of Illinois. You've already got Corbin Fordham, who is there to actually help recruit Max Sutter. 6'5", 230. Alabama, Penn State, Ole Miss, Illinois. What's interesting with the tight end position is that we're going after a second one for one. And 2, I don't think it's a given they take a second one. I think they're only taking a second one if it's a big fish like this, because they also are still in on Mark Bowman out of Modern Day.
Yeah. Yeah. In the tight end position, our tight end room is very stacked right now. It is a very stacked room. But you can see us playing 4 different tight ends in meaningful minutes, right?
Yeah.
And so you can bring in 2 or 3 different tight ends and have different roles for each one of them. This guy, in my opinion, Sutter, he can go get it, right? You'll see him line up at quarterback. You'll see him line up in the backfield. You'll see him line up on defense. You'll see him line up as the X receiver. You'll see him do so much for this team. And so I think, you're going to see him used in a way that you would use a flex tight end you're going to treat as somebody who's going to have to learn how to be an inline blocker. Right. And so this is a guy that you're expecting to be more of a pass catcher first. I mean, he is really freaking good. I would have, I look at film watching it right now. This is a guy who would be hard to say no to. I'm sorry. This kid can ball. He just goes up and gets it. And I think Ohio State needs more of these type of guys with Jeremiah Smiths and the Chris Haynes and all these top receivers that are getting. We've got to add more of those guys into the red zone offense. And so if we get more of them, keep adding them. I think you're going to see an influx of the usage this year with Max Clare. You're going to see an influx of those type of tight ends starting to Ohio State.
A dude who is also visiting already, and this is a late bloomer kind of kid, I guess you'd say, but he's definitely blowing up on the national scene, is defensive tackle Kari Wilder. The first thing that jumps out to me, this kid's got an 80-inch wingspan. That is massive. 6'4", 260. He plays a lot faster than 260, especially from the middle. I think Ohio State's got a really good shot here. Washington, Notre Dame, UCLA. I mean, he has a Bama offer, but I think Ohio State may have gotten out in front of this one early enough to get that jump on the other big boys. Definitely a late riser though. Obviously if he's going to play inside, he has to bulk up. 260 is not going to cut it. But do you lean him up a little bit and you've got an edge guy?
Yeah, I think this is a guy that they definitely want to play 3 technique. If you watch him, I'm not comparing him to Edric Houston. I'm not comparing him to Mike Hall, but you can see if I'm a defensive coordinator recruiting this kid, I see that type of vision when it comes to being able to penetrate from the 3 technique and be able to pass rush from the interior. I think he can be a mismatch problem. And so that is where I would want to put him, but he has a versatility to bump outside as well. I think his frame could hold 280, 285 pounds and be able to move just as fluid as he does right now. And so this is a kid, like you said, that long wingspan, like he can do so much. I love this guy's film. Like this is a guy who is very underrated. People would not be excited about him being in this class, right? I know I hate saying something like that. Like this wouldn't be like, oh, this big fish of a defensive tackle. But this is a guy that would come in, kind of go under the radar, but would be a really good pickup on the interior if he's able to gain that weight and get bigger, because I think he's got that type of skill set to be such a problem on the interior. So this is a guy I would watch out for, man. I think he's a wild card, like you said, and I think he could be really good on the interior for us.
Yeah, I loved his film. I mean, I'm not a film junkie when it comes to individual guys like you are, because you are looking for more of the technique and that type of thing. I just know what looks good to me. And this kid is legit, man. Like it's almost like Epi, that late.
Yeah,
and this is obviously way earlier than we got in on Epi.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Another really interesting prospect on the offensive side of the ball, who the insiders all seem to think that if Ohio State pushes for, they could get. This is a kid who, his name is Aaron Thomas. He is from Arizona. He's an offensive tackle, 6'7", 300 pounds.
Okay.
Number 8 player in the state of Arizona. There are some people that think he will be a top 5 player when it's all said and done in the state, which I know Arizona is not a football hotbed. So he's a composite 3-star, but we always talk about the offer list. And so he's got a good one. Yeah. Texas A&M, Ohio State, Texas, Florida State, Washington, the Arizona schools, Arkansas, Auburn. So, again, another kid who they have gotten in on somewhat early. And the fact that they're entertaining a visit with him obviously tells you that they are legitimately interested in him. His dad was an O lineman at Florida State. So, offensive line is in the genes. I think this kid ends up in the class. I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you look at his traits, you look at his intangibles, 6'7", 300 pounds. He's a lean guy. You look at his, the DNA. Obviously, his dad was an offensive lineman, like you said. You look at the offer list. I mean, this is a guy that Coach Bowen's probably looking at and saying, I can develop this kid into something. So if you're not able to go swing and get a big fish like Felix Ojo, you've already cast such a wide net and you've taken care of the guys in state, right? You've gotten the Sam Greers, you've gotten the other guys in state. So these are the type of guys that you can go get now to really start to fill out that offensive line room. This is okay. These are the type of guys that now you can go get because you've already taken care of business and you cast that wide net. I'm 110% okay with this. And you look at that offer list, anytime Kyle Flood, the offensive line coach at Texas, is willing to take you in his class, I'm a big supporter of that. I think Kyle Flood is one of the top offensive line coaches in the country. And so this is a guy that if the Buckeyes really push for and he wants in the class and they're willing to take him, I'm all for it. I support it 1,000%.
Yeah, that one is going to be interesting to follow. And then a couple of late additions, both from IMG. You've got interior offensive lineman Brett Kolage, 6'5.5", 320. This kid is a guard, and without a doubt. There's no tweener to it. Obviously, the first thing that jumps out to me though, this kid is a baby face.
Yeah,
like I say that he's a guard, and then he's going to hit that next growth spurt, and he's going to be like 6'8", and then he's going to keep that 320, and now he's a tackle.
Yeah.
He's listed, his numbers again, composite 4-star, 20th interior offensive lineman, 43rd player in the state of Florida. But when you look again, Tennessee, Georgia, Miami, Ohio State, Colorado, Oklahoma, Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, Florida State, like it's there, he is very, I use this analogy a lot, but he finishes blocks. He's a finisher. Like,
yep.
There's one play on his highlight tape where for on the screen, the play's going from left to right, and he holds his block and literally circles the kid back around to the other end. So again, the analogy part of it is the Michael Orr scene from the longest, or not the longest yard, from the blind side when he pushes the kid through the rail. Like that's literally, I mean, he circled it and just kept pushing. I'm like, his quarterback kind of looks back like, what are you doing, man? So yeah, late addition to the list. So I didn't watch a ton of his film, but will be interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, again, casting that wide net, man, with that offensive line, we're not used to it. And so I'm not going to turn away any offensive lineman that Coach Bowen wants to go after.
So along with him coming up from IMG, you have his IMG teammate, defensive lineman Cameron Brickle, 6'2", 305, another composite 3-star. But again, Florida State, Ohio State, Alabama, Auburn, California, Florida, Georgia, Maryland, Miami, Michigan, Michigan State, Notre Dame, Oklahoma. Like, stars matter, but offers matter more.
Yeah, and this kid can play. I mean, he can play. Don't let the stars fool you. 300 pounds. You turn on the film, you turn on the highlights. You can see a kid who is legitimately probably 290 plus pounds. I mean, and it's not a sloppy big either. And this is a guy that's probably going to end up being 315 pounds. And he's going to be able to play either the one technique nose, or he's going to be able to play 3 technique at the next level. If you're not able to, go back and secure Perez, this is somebody that you're really going to push to try to get in this class. Do I think you're able to get him? I don't know. But I think this is somebody that you do need to pursue. Again, I wish we would cast a little bit of a wider net so we can go get these bigger bodies. But this is a guy, again, Cameron Brickle is a very, very good player. The offer list shows it. The film backs up the play, or backs up the visit. And so I think this is a guy that if they really push for and they really, really want him and they're really willing to take him, I would take him in this class. I think he's got that type of ability. But, at the end of the day, they're the ones that are out there making these offers. But this kid is a really good player. So we'll see how it all unfolds.
Yeah, and a name that was supposed to visit, Donovan Webb, a defensive back. He's kind of one of those tweener DBs. Safety, can play safety, can play corner, is not visiting, is going to visit Kansas State instead. I think that may be a situation where Ohio State kind of said, hey, why don't you go take this visit? You've already got a couple safeties. You are the presumed leader for Brian Womack, the number 1 safety in the class.
Yeah.
And then Jet Washington has also said he's taking an official to Ohio State. You're not going to tell that kid no.
No, I mean,
that kid's got Mamba blood in him. So you definitely aren't going to tell him no.
No.
Justice Fitzpatrick just dropped his top 5 a little bit ago, it looks like. Ohio State's in it with an official visit. That is the brother of Minka Fitzpatrick. Hopefully he doesn't take knees of running backs out like his brother. I will always hold that one against Minka. But yeah, it's definitely about to ramp up. I think you will see, obviously, Sincere's committing in June. Xavier Griffin's committing in June. I've said all along, I think Favor commits in June. So business is about to pick up. It's going to be a wild month, which is nice, though, because from our point of view, this is the slow time.
Yes.
So now we get through June and we do more recruiting focus. And then July, we will start to do some season preview stuff.
Yep.
And then we get to August and it's camp season. It's Sayin versus Keenholz round 2.
Yeah.
And with it being season on deck, this is just your reminder. Screw you, Texas. You got to go to church. We got plenty of churches in Ohio.
Oh, buddy.
Obviously, the Big Ten fumbled that whole TV negotiation, and the Texas OSU game is a perfect example of it. But the fact that Texas would not move to Sunday night, the only game on that Sunday is Miami Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about those two schools.
Nope.
Especially us. It's one game a year that I will gladly cheer for the Domers.
Yep. Absolutely.
I don't think they play Michigan anymore ever, so I can't cheer for them then. We're going to have some stuff coming to talk about on the Team Up North front, though. According to Pat Forty, next weekend is the beginning of D-Day.
Okay.
That's the hearing with the Committee on Infractions. We've really tried to stay clear of that whole conversation because nobody truly knows how involved this thing is yet, because there's no public records request being filled, and we're going to stay clear of it until something definitive comes out. That's just not, we don't want to dive into that and speculate. There's all kinds of things you can speculate on about it. But the next month I would say is going to be a lot of recruiting. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. We are working on some stuff for a subscriber push on YouTube going into season. Not real sure what that's going to encompass yet because we're still working on that. You're going to probably notice some changes with our interface. We'll go ahead and throw that out there. We're working on some stuff there too. But yeah, as always, we appreciate all the support. And if you guys have any questions, comments, throw them in the comment section on the video and we'll get to them either in there or on an episode. But I think with that, we will wrap it up.